You have $0. Not low money, zero. The number in your banking app has a minus sign in front of it more often than not. No audience, no team, no camera crew, just a phone with a cracked screen you've been meaning to fix since February, and 43 followers, most of them people you went to high school with who haven't posted since 2019 either. This is where every media empire actually starts. Not the yacht, not the studio with the LED wall, right here, in a bedroom with bad lighting, filming your third take of a video nobody asked you to make. The first shift nobody tells you about is invisible. It happens in your head before it ever shows up on a spreadsheet. You start as a creator, someone with a hobby that occasionally pays. You post because you feel like it. You skip a week because life happens. Nobody notices because nobody's watching closely enough to notice. Then one day, usually after your 200th video, something clicks and you stop being a creator and start thinking like a media company. A media company doesn't skip weeks. A media company has a content calendar, a posting cadence, a plan for next Tuesday, not just next idea. The moment you write down a schedule and actually keep it, even with $0 in the business account, you've already out-executed 90% of the people who'll ever attempt this. Not because you're smarter, because you decided to treat a phone and an idea like infrastructure instead of a diary. Here's the part that trips up almost everyone at level 1. You think the first currency is money? It isn't. It's attention. And attention has to be earned before a single dollar ever shows up, the same way you have to build credit before a bank will lend you anything real. You can't monetize 11 views. You can't sell an audience that doesn't exist yet. Every hour you spend making content nobody watches feels like a loss, but it's actually you paying into an account that compounds later if you survive long enough to let it. This is where the niche versus virality trap eats people alive. You'll see it happen to a guy in your algorithm named Cole who chases whatever's trending that week. Dance audio Monday, drama commentary Wednesday, a cooking hack he clearly faked by Friday. Cole hits 400,000 views on a random Tuesday video about a kitchen gadget, gets a rush he chases for the next 6 months, and never breaks 2,000 views again. He got a lottery ticket, not an audience. Nobody who watched that video had a reason to come back because there was nothing to come back for. No through line, no promise, no reason to trust that tomorrow's video would matter to them the same way. Meanwhile, there's a girl 3 towns over, Marisol, posting the same kind of video every single day about budgeting on a warehouse job salary. Unglamorous, same intro every time, same low production value. Her 4th video gets 340 views. Her 40th gets 600, nobody's calling that a breakout. But by video 90, people start commenting things like day 47 of waiting for your check-in, and you're the only finance account that doesn't make me feel poor. That's not virality, that's trust, compounding one repetition at a time, and trust is the only asset at level 1 that survives long enough to convert into money later. You'll be tempted to skip straight to money anyway. Everyone is. You'll see a course, a template, a link in bio opportunity that promises $500 this week if you just sell to the 11 people currently watching you. And some of you will do it, and it'll work exactly once, and then it'll poison the well, because you asked an audience of 11 for money before you gave them a single reason to trust you with it. Selling too early doesn't just fail. It teaches the few people paying attention that you see them as a wallet before you see them as anyone worth keeping around. The audience is the asset, not this month's income. You build the asset first, or you build nothing at all. Nobody films this part, which is exactly why nobody's ready for it. The unglamorous grind stage doesn't look like anything. It's you filming your 111th video at 11 p.m. after a shift at a job that has nothing to do with any of this, editing on an app with a watermark because you can't afford the $7 to remove it yet, posting it to 9 views, and going to bed anyway. It's checking analytics that show almost nothing moving for weeks at a time and choosing to post the next one regardless, because you've decided the schedule matters more than your feelings about the schedule that day. This is the stage where almost everyone quits. Not because it's hard in a dramatic way, because it's boring in a way that never makes it into anyone's highlight reel, and boring is a much harder thing to survive than difficult. You don't know it yet, standing at $0 with 43 followers and a cracked screen. But the account you're building right now, one unglanced at post at a time, is the only reason anything past this point becomes possible. Not the idea, not the talent, the repetitions nobody watched. That's the whole foundation, and it's the only one you'll ever get to lay from scratch. Somewhere around $10,000, the game changes shape entirely. You don't feel it happen in real time, but one Tuesday you check the numbers and realize you've crossed from person with a following into person with a business, and those are not the same animal even though they live in the same body. The first thing that actually matters at this level isn't the money. It's the list. Every platform you've been posting to is rented land. The algorithm that fed you 40,000 views last month can starve you next month for reasons nobody explains and nobody appeals. You learn this the hard way when a format change buries 3 of your videos in a single week and your views drop 70% overnight with zero warning. That's the week you finally build the email list you'd been putting off for 4 months. Not because you wanted to, because you got scared enough to. Every subscriber on that list is someone the algorithm can't take from you. Same with the Discord server you start almost as an afterthought, 200 people who show up before anyone else does, who tell you what to make before you make it. Attention was the currency at level 1. Owned access is the currency here. Followers can vanish with an update. A list is yours. Once you have that direct line, revenue stops being theoretical. The first sponsor reaches out, a mattress company, $800 for a 60-second read you write yourself because nobody's told you agencies exist yet. It feels like winning the lottery. Then you make your first digital product, a $27 PDF breaking down the exact system you use to plan content, and it sells 140 copies in a week while you're asleep, which is the first time you understand that a product can make money in the hours you're not working it. Then affiliate deals start trickling in. A link here, a promo code there, small checks that stack into something that stops looking like a hobby and starts looking like a P&L. This is usually the exact spot where people make the mistake that costs them years. You watch it happen to a guy in your space named Rourke who hits $22,000 in a single month for the first time and immediately leases a Tesla because he'd promised himself he would the day he made it. That lease eats $890 a month for the next 3 years, whether his revenue holds or not, and revenue at this stage never holds steady, it lurches. 6 months later, Rourke is back down to $6,000 months, still paying for a car that was supposed to prove something to an audience that has already moved on to the next guy leasing a Tesla. Lifestyle creep is the quiet killer at level 2. It's not dramatic. It's just a car payment here, a nicer apartment there, and suddenly your business has a ceiling made of your own bills. The move that actually works, the boring one, is reinvesting almost everything back into the machine. You put that first $800 sponsor check toward a real microphone. You put the PDF money toward your first editor, a freelancer named Junie who charges $15 an hour and cuts your videos in a third of the time it used to take you. That's the moment you stop being a solo hustler and become an operator, someone who manages a system instead of doing every single piece of it yourself. It feels wrong at first, paying someone to do the thing you used to pride yourself on doing alone at 1 a.m. Then you watch your output double while your own hours actually go down, and you understand hiring isn't spending. It's buying back time you can reinvest somewhere the return is higher. And I'll say this once, plainly, because I wish someone had said it to me at exactly this stage instead of 3 years, and a lot of expensive mistakes later. Almost everything you're about to try to figure out by trial and error, the pricing, the hiring, the reinvestment math, someone has already mapped out. That's the entire reason I put together the book this channel is built around. It's not theory, it's the exact framework for turning the first $10,000 into the first $1 million without burning it on a car lease or a hire you weren't ready for. It's linked below, and it's discounted this week only, which is honestly the cheapest tuition you'll ever pay compared to what a bad 6-figure decision costs you at this stage. Because here's the trap waiting on the other side of all this early momentum, burnout, and it doesn't arrive as a crash, it arrives as a slow leak. You're posting daily, managing a sponsor calendar, answering your own DMs at midnight, editing when Junie's queue backs up, and building the digital product nobody's asked for yet because you think you need one. Somewhere in there you stop sleeping well and start resenting the thing you built to feel free. This is exactly where most creators plateau permanently, not because the ceiling is real, but because they hit it running at a pace built for a $0 sprint instead of a $1 million marathon. The ones who break through aren't the ones who grind harder. They're the ones who build systems, hire earlier than feels comfortable, and protect their own bandwidth like it's the actual asset, because at this level, it is. The machine only scales past you once you stop being every single gear inside it. Somewhere past $1 million, the game changes shape again, and this time it doesn't just change what you do. It changes what you are. You stop being a creator with a business and you start being an operator with a portfolio, And the difference between those two things is the difference between owning a bakery and owning the company that supplies flour to every bakery in the state. The first crack in your old identity shows up the day you launch a second channel that has nothing to do with you. Your name isn't on it. Your face isn't in the thumbnail. It's a faceless finance page run by a host you hired named Priya Okonkwo, 24, sharp, hungry, paid a flat $4,000 a month plus a cut of ad revenue once it clears a threshold. 6 months in, it's pulling 2.1 million monthly views and outperforming your original channel on a per-video basis. That's the moment you understand something that level 2 you would have laughed at. Your personal brand was never actually the asset. It was just the first product line. The real business is the studio behind it, and studios can run more than one show at once. By $3 million, you've got 4 brands running under one roof, a finance channel, a shorts-only clip page that exists purely to funnel traffic upward, a newsletter spun out as its own standalone media property, and a podcast that started as a bonus episode and now brings in more sponsor revenue than the flagship channel did at level 2. None of them are you. All of them are yours. You've gone from being a single point of failure to being the person who owns the building instead of the person doing every shift inside it. This is also the point where you stop just running ads and start actually owning your intellectual property in a way that pays you on a completely different axis. The old model was simple. Make a video, sell an ad slot, get a check, repeat forever. The new model is licensing. A financial education platform reaches out wanting to use your entire back catalog of scripts as training data for their in-app lessons. Instead of a flat fee, your business manager, a guy named Dorian Ashby who you hired at level 2 and promoted twice since, structures it as a licensing deal with a rolling royalty. $40,000 upfront, then 6% of whatever revenue that content drives inside their app going forward. You made the thing once. Now it earns twice, in 2 completely different rooms, from 2 completely different audiences, and you didn't have to write a single new word. That same instinct, get paid on the back end instead of the front end, is what pulls you into your first equity deal. A protein bar brand wants a sponsorship read. Standard rate $12,000 for the spot. But you've been watching their growth numbers because your audience overlaps with theirs almost perfectly, and instead of taking the check, you propose something your old self would have thought was insane. You'll promote them for free across 3 months in exchange for 2% equity in the company instead. Their founder, a woman named Sable Reyes, thinks you're either a genius or an idiot and says yes because she's not sure which either. 18 months later, they get acquired by a larger snack conglomerate, and your 2%, the equity you took instead of a $12,000 check, turns into $640,000. That's the trade that rewires how you think about every partnership from that point forward. Ad revenue is a paycheck. Equity is ownership in something that can compound without you touching it again. None of this works though if you're still the bottleneck, and this is where most people at this level quietly fail without ever finding out why. You've seen it happen to a guy in a neighboring niche, Callum Fitzgerald, who scaled to $8 million in annual revenue across 3 brands, but never once stepped back from being the final approval on every thumbnail, every script, every sponsor email. When he got food poisoning and was out for 9 days, output didn't just slow down, it stopped. Sponsors missed deadlines, a launch got pushed 6 weeks. His company was worth 8 figures on paper and couldn't survive its own founder eating bad shellfish. That's not a business. That's a very well-paid job wearing a business costume. The actual work at this level isn't making more content. It's building the systems, the SOPs, the org chart, the person whose entire job is making sure the machine runs the exact same way, whether you're in the building or on a beach with your phone off. You hire a COO named Marguerite Holt, whose only function is turning your instincts into documented processes other people can execute without asking you a single question. And the day she does that successfully for the first time is worth more to your net worth than any single video you'll ever post again. With that foundation actually holding weight, new revenue layers start stacking on top of each other almost by themselves. A course built from your existing back catalog sells for $497 a seat and does $310,000 in its first launch week with almost 0 new content created. Merch, done properly instead of as an afterthought, adds another 6 figures a year in near pure margin. A live event, tickets at $340 a head, 800 people in a ballroom, turns into $272,000 in a single weekend, plus a sponsor package that alone covers the venue cost twice over. And a slice of the profits from all of it starts getting funneled into strategic investments, stakes in smaller creators' businesses, minority positions in adjacent companies, the same equity instinct from the protein bar deal now happening on purpose instead of by accident. But here's the part nobody warns you about at this altitude, the trap that's killed more fast-scaling media companies than any algorithm change ever did: overexpansion. You watch a competitor named Preston Vale launch 9 brands in 14 months, chasing the exact high you're feeling right now. And by month 16, 6 of them are bleeding cash. His best editors are stretched across projects nobody has time to actually finish well. And the flagship brand that funds everything else starts declining because the attention that built it got sliced 9 ways instead of staying sharp. Growth without infrastructure isn't an empire. It's a controlled collapse waiting for the right afternoon to happen. The founders who actually make it to the next level aren't the ones who launch the most. They're the ones disciplined enough to build each brand's foundation solid before laying the next one on top of it. Past $50 million, the game stops being about what you can build and starts being about what you can buy. Building organically at this scale is like trying to fill an ocean liner's fuel tank with an eyedropper. It technically works. It also takes longer than you have. The shift becomes obvious the week you acquire your first competitor outright. Her name is Odalise Fenwick, and she spent 6 years grinding out a personal finance channel with 900,000 subscribers, a small but loyal audience, and margins that never quite broke past comfortable. She's exhausted in the specific way only solo creators get exhausted, the kind where the channel that was supposed to set her free has become the thing she can't take a real vacation from. You offer her $3.2 million for the whole operation, back catalog, email list, sponsor relationships, the works, plus a 2-year advisory contract at $180,000 a year to ease the transition. She takes it in 11 days. What used to take you 18 months of grinding to build organically, an engaged audience with proven monetization, you now own outright in under 2 weeks. That's the math that changes everything at this level. Time is the only thing money can't manufacture more of, and acquisition is how you buy back years you don't have. You do this 4 more times over the next 14 months. A cooking channel with a rabid Gen Z audience. A regional news aggregator that somehow out-earns most national outlets on a per-viewer basis. A struggling podcast network with great hosts and terrible business infrastructure, which is exactly the kind of broken you know how to fix because you built that same infrastructure for yourself at level 3. Each acquisition slots into a portfolio that starts looking less like a media brand and more like a holding company that happens to make content. But acquiring creators is only half the play, and it's not even the half that actually protects you. The real moat at this level isn't content, it's distribution. Anyone can make a good video. Not everyone can guarantee that video reaches an audience without paying a toll to a platform that could change its algorithm on a random Tuesday and cut your revenue in half by Wednesday. You watched this happen to a mid-sized media company 2 years ago, a business doing $40 million a year that lost 60% of its traffic overnight when a single platform update deprioritized external links. They didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't own the road their traffic drove on, and the landlord changed the rent without warning. So you stop renting roads and start buying them. You take a minority stake, 22%, in a newsletter infrastructure company that half your acquired brands already use to reach their audiences directly, no algorithm required. You buy outright a small ad tech platform that handles programmatic placements for creators in your space, which means every time a competitor runs an ad through that system, a sliver of that revenue quietly flows back to you. You invest in a podcast hosting service used by 3 of your own shows and a dozen shows that have nothing to do with you at all. None of this generates content. All of it generates leverage. You're no longer just a media company. You're becoming the infrastructure other media companies have to pay to survive. This is also where the business stops looking like anything a normal person would recognize as a media brand and starts looking like a conglomerate. Your business manager, Dorian Ashby, the same guy who structured your first licensing deal back at level 3, now runs something closer to an internal venture fund than a talent agency. Every acquired brand operates as its own entity with its own P&L, its own small leadership team, and an equity structure that ties its operators' compensation directly to performance instead of a flat salary. You hold controlling or majority stakes in 11 separate ventures, minority positions in 6 more, and the parent company sits above all of it collecting management fees, cross-promotion revenue, and dividends from businesses that would have taken you a decade each to build from scratch. You've become, without ever planning to use the word, a holding company disguised as a YouTube channel. And somewhere around $300 million, a different question starts showing up in rooms where it never used to. Not, how do we grow this, but what happens to this when you're gone? Legacy building isn't optional anymore, it's structural. You start putting succession plans in writing, not because you're planning on disappearing, but because a business worth this much that depends entirely on one person's continued existence isn't actually a business, it's a very elaborate liability. You groom a president, someone capable of running the entire portfolio without needing your sign-off on decisions under 8 figures. You diversify hard outside of media entirely, real estate holdings, a stake in a logistics company, a position in private equity deals that have nothing to do with content at all, because the families who actually keep wealth for generations never let one industry hold the whole rope. Brand longevity stops being about staying relevant online and starts being about building something that can survive changing platforms, changing algorithms, changing you. And that's the full arc, start to finish. At level 1, you were the product, trading your face and your hours for a foothold. At level 2, you built the machine that could run those hours without burning you out completely. At level 3, you stopped being a creator and became an operator with a portfolio. And here at level 4, you stop being an operator and become an architecture, something built to outlast the person who built it. Every level is the same lesson wearing a different price tag. Stop trading time, start owning systems. But here's the expensive mistake almost nobody talks about at this stage, and it's the one buried in every single acquisition you just watched play out. Founders routinely skip proper valuation and integration due diligence when buying smaller creators, and it costs them anywhere from 6 to 7 figures, usually discovered 8 to 14 months after the deal closes, when the engaged audience they paid millions for turns out to be inflated, bot-heavy, or emotionally loyal to a face that just left the building. I break down exactly how to catch that before you sign anything in the book, links in the description.